For more than 30 years, I've worked with senior executives throughout Europe, Asia and the US, helping them to build innovative agile organisations. I help them gain the necessary insights into the key influencers and mindset shifts that systemically affect everyone and everything else, so that they can unblock, unlock and unleash innovation and agility. Here are a few examples to illustrate this approach in action. The first client is a global household name oil and gas exploration and production company. The standards engineers who write the rules for designing and building extraction and processing platforms were frustrated that field engineering teams seemed to largely ignore these rules. They wanted to know, why are they so non-compliant? The short answer was that in order to get the job done, they had to be. The successful execution of multi-billion-dollar projects at a burn rate of millions of dollars every day over 2 to 3 years is engineering on a truly heroic scale, especially since it increasingly takes place in some of the most inaccessible and inhospitable places on the planet, with extreme weather and multiple partners with competing or conflicting agendas, and to cap it all, constant interference from politicians and sometimes even the local mafia. The people who pull off these projects do so in close-knit, multi-skilled teams of trusted professional colleagues, interacting constantly to keep on top of progress and problems, rapidly replanning and taking next step actions, all in a highly agile, iterative and innovative way. To professional engineers who work in this way, standards engineers with 9-to-5 jobs in plush offices in a nice safe European city look like bureaucratic numpties churning out kilometres of ridiculously restrictive red tape. But from the perspective of those same standards engineers, truly professional engineering means producing fully documented designs in compliance with published rules. To them, field engineers who treat the rules with barely disguised contempt look like amateurish cowboys who shoot from the hip before riding off into the sunset and then on to make a right royal mess of the next project. Here were two cadres of qualified professional engineers with totally incompatible perspectives on what it means to be professional. And, as always happens when an organisation fragments into fiefdoms, factions and silos, each saw the other as fundamentally flawed and in serious need of either fixing or firing. I became involved after the standards engineers had persuaded the firm's worldwide CEO to directly instruct the project team to fully comply with the rules. But the team leader had pushed back, asking the CEO, "What do you want us to deliver, this multi-billion-dollar flagship project that's crucial to the future of the organisation, or shed loads of meaningless paperwork?" Not surprisingly, the CEO chose the project. Resolving this breakdown involved getting key influencers in both standards and field engineering to see how and why they'd evolved such different perspectives on what professional engineering looks like. A key step in this was having some of the standards engineers spend time in the field gaining first-hand experience of the day-to-day reality of their colleagues. This led to much greater mutual understanding that enabled both sets of engineers to come together to co-create an approach to standards that not only worked, but was actually useful to both parties. The second example is another household name firm, a global leader in heavy industrial equipment headquartered in the US Midwest. The key influencers in this case were two department heads whose long-standing hostility towards each other had resulted in two fragmented silos, despite everyone being in the same building. When these key influencers saw how their 2D perspectives were both valid but incomplete takes on the bigger picture reality, the systemic knock-on effect was that people in both departments stopped seeing each other as enemies and began to cooperate and collaborate with each other and across the wider organisation to collectively address the pressing new challenges now facing the organisation as a whole. Another global client, this time in FMCG, was keen to launch a new product as fast as possible, but their efforts to reduce time to market were hampered by a history of mutual mistrust between R&D, manufacturing and marketing. The pivotal key influencer in this case was the leader of the European product development team, who regarded the marketing and manufacturing operations, both based in China, as the problem. The breakthrough here occurred when a Chinese marketing executive shared an insight that opened the development team leader's eyes to a costly, unnecessary and hidden delay caused by one of his own decisions. The power of this aha moment shifted him from his previous finger-pointing perspective and opened the way for the global team to work together and find other ways to accelerate the project, leading to a much earlier launch and millions of dollars additional revenue. In another case, the strategic relationship between a Japanese keiretsu supplier and their number one Chinese customer was put at serious risk by a conflict that, by the time I got involved, had escalated to the point where lawyers had been engaged by both sides. The key influencer in this case turned out to be the customer's external software expert. His narrow 2D perspective that there was only one right way to design industrial control software led him to misguidedly advise the customer to reject the supplier's software unless and until they completely rewrote it the way he thought it should be done. My Japanese client had seen the customer's rejection of their world-leading, best-in-class predictive control software as an excuse to avoid making a very large stage payment that was now several months overdue. Once my client became aware that the real problem was the expert advice the customer was receiving and not him trying to continue avoiding the overdue payment, he was quickly able to resolve the dispute, dispense with the lawyers, and not only rebuild the customer relationship but reinforce it considerably. As all these case examples illustrate, whenever key influencers escape the narrow 2D perspectives that systemically perpetuate misalignments, mistakes and missed opportunities, people start engaging in ways that are much more positive and productive. And as cooperation and collaboration increasingly become the way we do things around here, it unblocks, unlocks and unleashes the capacity to co-create new value that's the foundation on which innovative, agile organisations are built.